Hello, hello, everybody. Who do we have out here? I see some people were waiting. So today is, oh my goodness, the last Wednesday in January. So it is January. Listen to me, I've got my calendar wrong. I haven't even turned this one. It is the last Wednesday in February. It is actually February 22nd, and you are in the middle of the week. You're at the end of the month, but then you're in the middle of the day. So my name is Colleen Magnus, and today you are Creating with Colleen. So I'm glad you joined me. I come to you live on YouTube every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time. And I do this so that you can take a break from your busy day, and then you can watch me create. So thanks again for being here. And today we are going to actually make these two beautiful cards. The main thing I wanted to show you was this banner that goes across the front, because I think you could use that for any card that there is. And of course, we all have fantastic, with Stampin' Up, the most beautiful designer paper, and you could use it with any designer paper. But in addition to that, I want to talk to you about two of my most favorite stamp sets. Friends Are Like Seashells and Seaside Bay. So we're going to just jump right in. Got the camera already turned down and ready to go. So the first set I was going to tell you about, this is called Seaside Bay. And Seaside Bay is actually in the mini catalog. It is on page 22, and it really, really is beautiful. It's just a natural set. It has the dies. And so my main focus was going to be on this, but then I checked our status report, and sadly, the dies are not available until March 27th. But this catalog does go, I believe, to the beginning of May 3rd. So you will be able to get this at a later date. But I still wanted to use part of it in the cards that we're making today. So then I thought, let me go ahead and focus on a wonderful set from the annual catalog. So if you look on page 22 of the annual catalog, this has been out for a while. So I am thinking this stamp set here will probably retire. The annual catalog, again, ends May 3rd, and the end of next month in March, we should have a retired list of what's leaving us. And sadly, it would not surprise me if this was on there. And as I look around my stamp room, I think, wow, so many awesome, awesome sets that are in here that I still need to show. So we are going to really focus on this today. It's called Friends Are Like Seashells. Whew. I had trouble saying my S's when I was a little kid, so try to do them now. But again, wonderful, wonderful set. So I think what happens is when the mini catalogs come out, we just forget about the annual catalog. I mean, we do it all the time because we want to show the newest, the latest and greatest that we have. Well, thankfully, the way Stampin' Up! Is scheduling their catalogs this year is we actually have January through April is going to be the mini catalog. Then in May, the annual catalog comes out, and we have 4 months of just to focus on the annual catalog, which I think is going to be wonderful. And then in September, October, November, September, the holiday catalog comes out. September, October, November, December, we can focus on that catalog. So we are going to again focus on the Friends Are Like Seashells. So it's an awesome, awesome collage of just different products. You have this beautiful seashell embossing folder. Very, very nice. Then you have a really nice stamp set called Friends Are Like Seashells. And just wonderful sayings. Friends are like seashells. You collect them along the way. There's a thank you or for you. Love you to the beach and back. Some people love you to the moon. Some people love you to the beach. And even though the beach is closer, I'm sure it still means they love you so much. Wishing you the very best. So happy I found you. Happy birthday to my beautiful friend. So great, great stamp set. Now what's really cool are the dies. So this is my little cheat sheet of the dies, and I'm going to show you how they work before we get started because they are really cool. Now when this first came out, we had no idea what this was. Like, what is this huge thing? This die is magic, and I'll show you how it works. So with this, you actually get in your dies, you get the large die, and then you get the dies to cut out these stamps. So they are individual dies that will cut them out. what you have are these stamps, which actually you can stamp on here. And then you have these. So this die is actually for here. And again, I'm going to show you how that works, because it's not like you're just going to stamp one, you know, and then try to put this die on here to line it up like we do with our other ones. You will actually die cut this first, stamp it, and then we can even emboss it. So let me just show you, because I am a visual person and I really like to see what's going on, what needs to be done. So I'm going to take my die cutting machine, and I'm taking this the 3D embossing folder with the seashells, and I'm actually going to use this gorgeous paper. It is called pearlescent specialty paper. And I don't know if you could see it, but it's just that. It's like a pearl paper that is gorgeous, and it's the same on both sides. So I will just take this and slide it in my embossing folder. Then I'm going to take my #1 base plate, put this on here, and then the #4 embossing plate for the 3D folders. Always make sure it's even on both sides. Move this in here. Because if it's not, say if it goes in like this, it's going to go through, because you're cranking it through. And what happens is you can actually break a folder, or you can bend a die. So you don't want to do that. And always put it with the fold going in first. That will help also. So make sure I'm even and just crank her through. And it feels like it doesn't even do much. But with that, you have a gorgeous, and I'll show you this. Also, I want to leave this here because I'm going to show you another thing. But isn't that gorgeous? So pretty. So whether you emboss it on just regular cardstock or the pearlescent paper, the folder alone is beautiful. So to get, using this die, the large die that we have here, I went ahead and cut out the pearlescent paper with this die. That's already done. So all you have to do, which is so nice, is this. Let me move this up a little bit. I'm looking over above trying to get it all in here. You're just going to take this that's already cut, and you're going to line it up with the folder. So I think the easiest way to do it is look where your vines are, your seaweed, and you just line it up in here as such. Close that. Again, take your base plate, put this on top with your 3D plate, and then it's so pretty when this goes through. With that, you have all of your shells embossed and ready to roll. So these are great, and I'm actually going to use this on my card, because to get these shells out, first of all, I could actually have just put this on a piece of paper, and it's gorgeous as it is. But if I want the individual shells, I just snip around it, and I have those too. So I'm going to hold on to that. Now what I was telling you about is if you want them stamped. This is a piece of Very Vanilla, and so what I did is I cut it out with a die cutting machine, and I went ahead and stamped on here. So at this point, I can still go ahead and emboss them. So with those easy steps, I have them already in here. They are stamped and embossed. It's kind of like batch stamping. Get them all done at one time. So you know the fire drill. Put the folder, the 3D plate, and as I crank through, let me move this out of my way now. Then you have these stamped images here. And I don't know if you can see the embossing as much on the screen, but you can feel it. I would just snip these out, and then I have them. And incidentally, this color, I was stamping them all in crumb cake, but I realized I did not have this one clean. So this is a mixture of Starry Sky and crumb cake, and it's really a pretty cool color. I mean, I don't encourage you to stamp in 2 different pads, but I really like that. So at least I have a one of a kind, because hopefully I won't do it again. So let me see who's here today. Miss Sarah and Sandy. Hey, Charlotte from Florida. Steph, Judith, Fran, very good. And the stamping and embossing idea. Yeah, Fran said she did that opposite, but to me it works pretty good to have it all done on here and then just run it through. So that is pretty much what the Friends Are Like Seashells suite is all about. Now, when it first came out, it was a bundle. It's not a bundle now, but you can order the stamp set on page 22. You can get the dies in the back of the catalog on page 174. And then the coordinating seashells 3D embossing folder is on page 177. And put it all together, because I just think if you have the one, you really need it all. So for our cards, as I told you, I combined the two. I combined the Friends Are Like Seashells and then also the Seaside Bay. But sadly, as I'm sure you do too, we need sympathy cards. So I did make this one a sympathy card. And then this one, we're going to do a little bit different because I needed your opinion on the background. But I think I went with Petal Pink because this here is not backed like this one is. So the supplies you're going to need, we're going to do the sympathy card first. You're going to need a piece of 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, Night of Navy. Caters loves anything seashells. I do too, Caters, and it's not just because I live on the coast. I just love the beach. I love the lake more. Don't hold it against me, but I do love the beach. So moving on, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, Night of Navy. Y'all going to get me distracted because in my mind I'll be at the beach. For that banner piece I was telling you about, this is 2 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's longer than it needs to be, but you'll see why. Then I'm going to have 4 strips of By the Bay designer series paper, and that is 1/2 inch by 6 inches. Again, longer than they need to be, but you'll see. Stick with me. Then I have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white, and a 4 1/16 by 5 5/16 balmy blue. That could also be 4 by 5 1/4, which is what the next card will be, but I wanted a smaller edge, so I just went ahead and shaved a 1/16 off. So we have these here. Let me put these aside. And what I liked is the strips that would go on here. So y'all know it will work with any designer paper. And what you want to do when you do your strips is, again, 1/2 inch by 6 inch. And y'all know when I tape them, never put them down, push them down till they're where you like it. Because I'm going to use a stamp and seal in case I have to pull them up. Hopefully I will not. And liquid glue, you wouldn't even have that option. So when I do these, I like to start from the top and the bottom and then work in the middle. And then of course you're playing with your pieces and like, oh, where do I want those? Let's try that. So here I'll just take and kind of dab this on here. And I'm not right under my screen. And this is, the space in between is really, really small, probably like a 1/16. You can make this piece here larger if you want to. Again, mine's 2 1/4. I tried 2 1/2 and I thought it was a little too big because I really want the designer paper to be my focal point there. And then I'll put this one. I already have it done on the second card, so I did cheat a little, which is okay. So I will just kind of put it in here. And then my last one. Our other adhesive was never as strong, which for something if you got to pull it up was great, but you do want it kind of strong. Okay, so for me, I can live with that. So then I'll push everything down. So here you have, again, just a slight separation, and that will go on the front of the card. So when I put it on here, the reason it's larger is because depending on which angle that I want to have, so I'll have it like this, and then I'll cut the sides. So with this here, you could have even just skipped the piece of Night of Navy and just put your designer paper there, but I like that separation that is in between there. So with this, I will Get my stamp and seal. And again, you know, just put it any angle that you want. You can go this way. Don't give me options. I'm in trouble when you do. So I'm just going to go across. But see, I needed to make sure that definitely went all the way across there. So I'll push this down. And then I like to use my guillotine type cutter. So I'll just, this is old, but any kind of cutter you had should work. Just make sure you have good sharp blades. And I'll just put it on the edge. So I'll trim that. Make sure you get the edge. Ooh. And then this side here. Always making sure that you're straight up at the top. And then that gives you your beautiful little banner. Let me put my cutter here. I'll need it for the second one. Okay, so now that I have that, I can stamp it. So going to the Seaside Bay, that has like a nice thank you. I love that it says you are pearl, rare, and precious because we have gems that coordinate with this. And you can put them in the shells. But that's where I got the heartfelt sympathy from. So I'll just put this on here. Again, Knight of Navy. Up at the top. And a tip, when you are stamping a word where it's like script at the bottom and straight at the top, make sure you always look at the top to line it up. Because those curves can make you think it's straight, but it might not be. But that is definitely hardcore straight, so you know how to put it in there. So I have this here. I'm going to take my piece of Knight of Navy. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And I'm just going to put this on there. Okay. So this was really what I wanted to show you today, was this banner of doing that. And the designer paper that I'm using is from the By the Bay. So let me see, I had that out. And it's gorgeous because it's a specialty paper. So it has the gold foil. Catalogs don't do it justice, so just trust me on this. You definitely would want it. But it has gold foil on one side and then just regular flat on the other side. But beautiful colors, and gold foil always makes everything pop. So now I've already, this is the Friends Are Like Seashells. This was one of the dies that I told you that you could cut out. Oops. This one here. So I did that ahead of time, and I did this with the Starry Sky. And I'm just going to come in here with some Wink of Stella. And if you do this, sometimes it works. Let me see if I can use my blender pen. On this one here, right as soon as I stamped it, I pulled some of the color in with the blender pen. And sometimes you can actually do that with the Wink of Stella. So see how my blender pen, I just wanted to soften it up some so it wasn't so, just so dark right there. You know, so, what are the words I'm looking for? Softer, how's that? So I'm coming around. Sometimes your Wink of Stella will do this too, especially if you just stamped it, because this is a water-based ink. So the water-based ink, you can move around a little bit because you're activating it with something wet, whether it be a blender pen or whether it be your Wink of Stella. So then I'll put this on here because I do like my sand dollars to sparkle. Then I'll just add some of my, I'll get my dies here, my dimensionals, and I can use the small ones. So I'll put this on. So how's y'all's day going? Let me see, how are y'all doing today? Give me a shout out. But I hope you are having a great day. It is actually, oh my goodness, in the 70s today in Chesapeake, Virginia. And golly, it's supposed to be 45 on Saturday. So, and 80 tomorrow, 80 something. So in Virginia, they always say, if you don't like the weather, just stick around. And it is true, true, true. So today we can cook out and I can make homemade bread and stew on Saturday. I'll be back in my winter mode. So here on the inside, I put the shell and I put these little reeds, and that is a masking technique. So let me show you how that is done. I have a piece of paper here. So this here is my basic white that is going on the inside. And when you mask something, what you want to do is you just want to take like a piece of copy paper, something thin, because there is an edge there. Then I'm just going to take the Starry Sky, and I'm going to stamp my seashell. And what I'm doing is I'm making a template. Let me close that. So here I have my template. Here's my paper I'm looking for. And when you cut this, you want to actually cut on the edge. You don't want to leave an edge because it's hard for the stamp to get down there anyways. Because again, just a side edge, which is why we use the thinnest paper possible. So I'm just going to cut this out with my awesome paper snips. The best cutting scissors that I think I've ever come across. So on the edge, and then if you have a repositionable tape or glue, you can use that. I think you could even use the liquid glue, but let it dry, just so it's tacky. But since this is what I have right here, I'm just going to put just a small piece of my stamp and seal, and then put my fingers on it so it's not getting too sticky. Man, snowing in Nebraska, but nice this weekend. Diane, I have to say I'm a little bit envious. I love snow. Winter is one of my favorite seasons, and we just don't really get it here on the coast. I wish we did. We do sometimes, and then it doesn't last, which is fine. As long as I got to see it fall and stay in my house and cook, I love it. It's getting towards the end of January, and although we have had snow in February, I don't know that it's happening this year. We just can't seem to get below the 50s, except on occasion. And those out there who are ready for spring or don't like the cold, don't hate me for saying that. But I do. I love all 4 seasons. I think that's why I really like Virginia. So what I've done is I've stamped my shell. Then I'm going to take the shell that I had out of the paper, and I'm going to cover it. Cover it just like that. And then this is a technique called masking. So you've masked over your shell. I'm going to take the mint macaron. And actually, since this is a photopolymer, let me grab my little pad that I like to use. Here we go. It's the paper piercing mat. And a lot of times it is good to use it unless you have a really flat table. Oh, Lord. Please don't get a tickle. Hold on, let me take a sip of my water. I always say I'm going to have like a cough drop in my pocket, and then I don't, because it's not like I'm sick. Okay, so now that I have that down, I'm going to stamp over it. I can, if I want to stamp off and make it light, you can. But you really do want to get on it at some point. Let me see, put one there. Oh, Lord. I've got making a mess of my paper. That's what happens when it's live. Don't y'all pretend like you don't do it. You know you do. I probably just do it more. So I'm going to leave that because I actually have a sand eraser that we used to use on ink pens. And I think I can just take those little 2 smudges off, and then I'll have my shell. So here I have the shell. Now I'm going to take this masked piece off. There, I'll put my finger over it. Doesn't look as bad. And now you can see where the seaweed went behind it. So I will just put a little bit of tape. So in case I can't live with that, I can take it off and redo it. There we go. So this is the first card, my sympathy card. Let me show you the good one. Here we go. That is the first one. So for the second card, let me see. Judith says 70 here today in South Carolina. Yes, low 50s this weekend. Not bad, not bad. It's that time of the year you really don't know what you're getting. So for my second card, when I first made it, I did it full, the 4 1/4 by 11, and that's fine. But I think when you've been stamping for so many years, you kind of like a background. So I cut it down so that I will have a background on my paper, just like this one. I used Balmy Blue and Night of Navy. This one, I think, this is Mint Macaron, and I think I'm going to go with the Petal Pink because it really picks up the pretty colors in here. So for sake of time, this I did do standard, 4 by 5 1/4 Mint Macaron. I did a 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 piece, score at 5 1/4 of Petal Pink. And then I put soft suede on here because that was my second guess, but I think I voted myself. I'll have to hold the two up. It just picked up the colors of the designer paper. Think here I've got the piece of the soft suede, same size I had before. I think it was 2 1/4 by 5. And then my 1/2 inch by 6 inch strips of designer paper. So this one I already did, since you saw me do that. Then you've got 3 3/4 by 5 inch of basic white. So just know, if you're mounting it separate like this, that's fine because you only have this one layer. You know, you can cut this on the Balmy Blue. If you are doing a card like this, you always want to make sure it's the 4 1/4 by 11, because when you lay this on here, you're going to have to trim those sides. And if you have a card that opens this way, you don't want to take any chances on trimming that fold. So always make sure your fold is at the top, and then that will go like this, and you can easily trim those edges. So when I did this, again, I'm going to do it just a little bit different. I was even thinking another thing, because I like safe stamping. I don't like a lot of mistakes if it doesn't have to be. But of course, I'm going to tell you right now, that's where creativity comes in, is when you mess something up and then you're like, all right, what do I do now? That's when the brain really turns on. But I don't have this really down yet. On this one here, I'd already put it down, so I stamped that. But if I want, I can stamp it first, just use this as a guide. So if I'm up higher or my angle's off, then I can adjust my paper to my angle. So here we have, I'm so happy I found you, especially when you're not right on top of it stamping. So I will just stamp this here, and I am stamping in soft suede. And then I can put my tape on here. And the reason it looks like this on the back was because I had my pieces on there and I didn't like the way they looked, so I ripped them off, but I didn't want to waste my pieces. So see, now that I have this, I can line that up because, there's not a whole lot of forgiveness there. Like if I stamped it crooked or something happened, so now that I have that, I can go ahead and line it up with my words. So I try to take as much risk out of it as possible. Here again, I'm just going to take my cutter, put this on the edge here. There's one side. And always make sure you're flat at the top. This little cutter is so old, but she does a great job. And then I have that there. So now that I have my piece, I am going to, this is what I was thinking. Let me see if I still have the soft suede. I think I actually put it back. Yes, I did. I was trying to debate, should I do the soft suede and pick up with that? Let me grab it. I'll still get y'all's opinion, but I think I'm going with the Petal Pink. right here. All right. So I have, here we go. So I was thinking what I kind of decided on my own. I really do wish y'all were here and stamping with me all the time so that I could just get your opinion. This is what it looks like with the petal pink. So a little bit lighter. And I can cut this. I got my cutter right here. If y'all decide that you think the soft suede is better, that's kind of what it would look like on the soft suede. So let me go a little higher and I'll cut it if need be. So this would be soft suede. I have enough work to do that I can wait for y'all to comment. And then that would be the petal pink. So shout out your opinion and we will go from there. So on this card, remember that piece that I cut? That was so nice. So I'm going to take this, and this is what I'm going to use for my shells on the card. So all I have to do, I think I'm going to use this one here. I can pick any one I want, but you just come in here and just trim these little pieces off. Just do some snipping. And that's how you get your shells individually. So it goes across. And then once I have that, I can make sure I've got a smooth edge. Okay, so Caters likes, oh man, we got, let's see, soft suede, pink, soft suede, pink, soft suede, pink. Oh man, y'all are just splitting it right up the middle. That's tough. I might have to make two, one of each. So I have my shells here, and I also love like these pieces up here. So I think I might do this one a little bit different. I'll snip it from here. I might just have to get a quarter and toss it. Then I would know for sure. But see, I could just take these pieces and use them the way that I want. I think I'll snip this one off. So just coming around. And once we get it all together, maybe we'll just decide. If I had a coin, I really would toss it. So you can use every bit of what is on that die. Here, I think I'll put this here. And then for my shell, I'll just trim these off. Like such. And I could put this on here. So to soften my die, my shell a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and take the petal pink, got my ink, and I have one of the new smaller blending brushes. And I really do like them because I get a little bit more control of the color than the big one. So I'm just gonna tap it in there and just kind of come around just to give this a little bit of that little shade of pink in here, just to pick up that paper a little bit more. And maybe those little ridges there. So it's very soft and very subtle, but it really does make a difference. Okay, so from here, I will take this, I think I'll put this part here on. Yeah, we'll do like that. I don't want too much. I don't want to take away. I love these little fish in the designer paper. So I don't want to take away too much from that. So for this piece, I'll put it down here, and then I'll make sure my shell kind of covers that. So this I would use my liquid glue. That would be easier. Let's see what y'all have been saying. Oh, I got 3 pinks in a row. So I might have to do that. And again, I don't think you're going to lose either way. I think it's a win-win. Stephanie thinks there's too much pink already, or there's enough. I shouldn't say too much. And you know, the way you cut your paper, sometimes you'll have more, sometimes you'll have less. So I'll take this and just tap that down, give it a minute to dry. And then with this, I can go ahead, let me snip that off just a little bit. Okay. it a minute. Here, I'll just put on with my dimensionals. I can use my bigger ones on here. There we go. Plenty. Okay. I think Judy's on to something here. Pink if it's going to a woman, suede if it's going to a man. Good point. Very good point. And what's nice about it is it could be either or. All right, well, okay, so just so for y'all who want to see the pretty pink, that is a pretty pink. But if I go ahead and give this to my husband, I will score lots of points. So let me try this off suede. Now, typically, when I am doing the cards, if I have a piece of the 5.5 by 8.5, I don't always score it because I'm bending with the grain and it's nice and soft. I can actually take the two edges, put them together, then I know it's scored perfectly. If I have a card like this, this does not fold towards the grain. My 8.5 by 11, I cut long ways. I would always score this because you're not folding with the grain and it gets chunky. And you don't want that. You want a nice fold. But this way, you're going with the grain, so you're okay. So let me see here. I don't know. Well, Danny needs a card, so I guess I'll try that. And again, keep in mind, when I cut this one, this was 4 by 5 1/4. So I actually, you would see more of the border around it. That might make a difference too. So here I have the front. I'm going to go this way with it. And then for my inside, this one we could just keep it simple. I've got that 3 3/4 by 5. And from the By the Bay set, I really love the little sand and the seashells that we have. That was a good point. Deanie needs a card. It's been quite some time. So here I'm just going to put that on the inside. So you can see how these two stamp sets really do work well together. Let me get that. I need to keep twisting my wrist more. When you're doing the adhesive, it's really thin, so you just feel where it's sticky, but when you leave, you really want to then pull up, and it keeps it around the wheel, and I won't have to keep feeding the tape through it. So here I'll put that inside, and I have the card. So this is no border. In fact, you might even like that. Border, no border. And I'll have to do another one for the pink. And then this one here, of course, is the Night of Navy. So this is the By the Bay Designer Series paper. And definitely get that now. Let's see, the end of March, they are going to give us a retiring list for both the mini catalog and the annual catalog. And we're getting kind of close enough now to where if something runs out, they very well might not replace it. It's just they wouldn't get it in time for the shipping when the catalog ends. So get these things while you can. Definitely for the annual catalog. Get the Friends Are Like Seashells suite. And then By the Bay. If nothing else right now for the paper, because it is gorgeous. So just a reminder, Celebration, hard to believe, will end Tuesday. So the only thing that is not available is the Dainty Flowers Designer Series paper. If you're on my mailing list, you would have received the flyer because they did release other products too. And you can, if you're not on my mailing list, you can get on there by going to creatingwithcolleen.com and go ahead and sign up for my newsletter. I always make sure you know what's going on with Stampin' Up. You have the specials. And of course, I include creative videos with that too. But for every minimum $50 or $100 that you spend, you will get the items free, and they are exclusive only to Celebration. They won't be available any other time. And then just don't forget, we have the joining special that will also end next Tuesday. So if you're thinking of ordering $100 in product, you might want to decide to do this. Through Celebration, you can select $175 in product out of the mini catalog or the annual catalog, and you only pay $99. The shipping is free. Now we do have this stinking little cute mini die cutting machine. It's like a 3-inch space. The plates are 3 inches. If you would like that, then you would still pick $175 in product, but you're going to pay $129, only $30 more to get the boho blue or the white mini embossing machine. It's still free shipping, and that is a $60 value. So you're saving an additional $30 on that. So really a great special. There's never an obligation for you to purchase anything after that. You can get it just for the savings. But as always, contact me if you have any questions on anything. If your order is under $150 this month, you can use the February host code right there. And if it's $150 or more, you will start receiving 10% of your merchandise and free product. So no, Stephanie, you can't join again. I know everybody asked that, but thank you for joining the first time. I love that you are part of my Stampin' family. You get everything at a discount because once you purchase that starter kit, you now save 20% off all the merchandise that you buy. And I know you're loving that. I know you're loving that as much as I am. So thank you all for being here today. I love stamping with you. I wish you could be physically with me in the stamp room. But I love that you're here, and I thank you for your feedback. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Everything I do is Creating with Colleen. My Facebook page, I have pictures of the dimensions for these that I will post on the Facebook page. As soon as we are done, I'll crop them and put them on there. And this way you have an actual picture of it. And I hope you'll take some time to create this week. It would be great. I plan to. I have already, but I do plan to. And definitely, Diane, if it's snowing in Nebraska, then since it's going to be nice this weekend, go ahead and get your stamping done now so you can get outside this weekend. So thank you all again. I appreciate you, and I hope you do something creative today. I will see you next Wednesday at noontime as we create again. You take care now. Bye-bye.